This is the best thing you will ever do for your family. Unique styling, one of a kind. It'll need about 6 to 8 hours overnight charge off the adapter, unless you get running marathons.
Hello, Toby. It's very nice to meet you. I'm okay with this.
It's a surprise.
Dr. Milliken, I have good news. You qualify for an upgrade. One of these bad boys can do 10 times what the D-series can do.
Look, I'm happy with the one I've got.
Hello. You must be Laura.
We don't need one. You're taking it back.
I'm not taking it back.
I've been looking for you for a long time. You've been pretending to be so much less than what you are.
Odie?
Stand still! This machine needs to be recycled, mate.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Lucky Dog Podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. And today we are discussing Humans, the full first season. Thoughts, impressions, the good, the bad, the ugly, the nitty, the gritty, the good, the bad, the ugly. I already said that, but you know, you gotta repeat it because you gotta double make a stack. Yeah, so I had a episode 1 cast, episode 4 cast, and this is our episode 3 cast. Sorry, not 3. This is our episode 8 cast. So there's 3 total podcasts that I've done for the Humans series, and it's been one. Kellie and I watched it together, but she's unfortunately unable to podcast with me today, so it's just going to be a solo podcast with me, so we won't be here too long, but we'll just give you the rundown if this was how this show turned out. I mean, did it live up to all the potential and all the hype and everything? I had pretty high expectations at the beginning because I had spoken in my original 2 casts that I was comparing this pretty highly and closely to the Westworld series. And so going forward, we're going to talk about the Westworld series spoilers in full, as well as Humans in full, just so that we can talk in between both of them. So Humans, the final episode, took us in some crazy places, so I'll do a quick recap from what happened to 4. At the end of 4, we saw Niska kind of go off, and she kind of goes berserk and takes out a couple of people and ends up kind of going rogue, putting on, the regular contacts and looking like a regular human. So we kind of found out that all it takes is a special code, slice out the GPS, and just bada bing, bada boom, put some contacts in, and all of a sudden you look like a human. Just as in episode 5. So let's talk about episode 5 specifically. Episode 5 was kind of a changing point in the series. I thought it was going to be for a better, but I'm not sure if it totally was. Episode 5, we find out the detectives partner is actually Leo's quote unquote synth mother that was created for him back in the day. And it's the way it's drawn out and it's shown, it's really cool. She's kind of trying to seduce the detective guy for a little bit, and then it shows her going back to her bed and opening up her mouth, and it looked like something from It. I was like, oh my god! I was like, God. I was like, oh shit! And I was like, this detective guy is about to get it, like something crazy. And you know what? I'm not sure if she ever really lived up to the hype. I never really felt that Karen was, I think her name's Karen Voss, Detective Karen Voss. So it's just things like that. They just set things up that I thought were going to become more relevant within the series, and they just kind of dropped them. Like William Hurt, I believe he gets shot around 6 or 7, and this is a great actor. He's been in a lot of things recently. You might have seen him in Amazon's Goliath. He was in Civil War. He's been in many movies that people could recognize. Let me see if he could. I think he was actually the general in The Incredible Hulk, featuring the Edward Norton. But William Hurt is a big. He's a big actor, and it probably cost a pretty penny to have him on there. So I figured they were going to take him off, but not in the way they did. They did it more like an accidental shooting kind of scenario, kind of thing. It was just like the William Hurt thing, anticlimactic. I think the series had a problem with the type of writing and plotting going along through the act structures. So the first 4 episodes, maybe 4.5 to 5, really felt like a contained story where they were going somewhere, and then in the writing room they took the eraser and they're like, no, we don't need to do this. We need to take William Hurt out, cut him out here, and we needed to put Anita here, have her gain consciousness here. And the ways that it came about, Anita gaining consciousness, the family becoming more involved with the Sense and Leo, and everyone kind of actually revolving much more around the family, didn't feel natural to me. It felt very forced and not. It didn't have to be. Like, I understand this is an 8-part series, but it felt like the first 2 episodes were really sinking their teeth in us. Just kind of easing us into the world, and not really doing this choppy writing is what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna call it sloppy, choppy writing, because it was hard to argue that it was anything else than that. So overall I really thought some of the good things about the series, the music and the sound design's really nice. That really keeps you in tune with what the robots are actually feeling, and what state they're in and where they're at. I wish there was a little bit more done with the sound design, but the music was done really well. The acting, fairly good. I originally praised the family for being pretty salute to a standardized family, I guess, if a traditional 2000s family in Britain, I believe. But they became quickly way too annoying for me. I thought they were going to have 1 or 2 interactions with the robots, and the robots were just going to surpass them, and they were going to become kind of set dressing for the robots to do whatever they needed to do at the house, or to do whatever when they needed to do it. But the family became much more integral to the plot, specifically the mother just offering up her house and letting Anita and friends stay, which I didn't feel had any connection. The entire first 4 to 5 episodes felt like Anita was she was being pushed aside, and I knew eventually Anita was going to come back on to the wife's side. The wife dislikes her, the wife finds some things she likes about her, then finds some creepy things about her. It's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and then then the sister or the daughter finds out, she might have some consciousness, and then the mother gets sort of intrigued about it. But there really only seemed to be one scene of the mother becoming seriously intrigued about the AI technology, and so that kind of bothered me with just the entire plotting going forward. So she had a good scene with one of the ladies talking about how the AI is more than that, how they've made it more than that. Well, it seemed like that was all she needed to hear that, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay to have robots at our house and let them stay, and all these random folks. And she just seemed way too laissez-faire, like, how can we help? Just all of a sudden, let's help, let's be the family that helps along with the crazy storyline that goes along. It's not believable that the family would still stay around with this with these policemen, and what they're doing is policemen and AI corporations and whatever this is. The AI corporations are run by a bunch of dumbasses, by the way. I don't know what they're doing. They getting outsmarted by a couple of teenagers in a family that knows barely how to turn on their iPad. But it just like many things, I think that the writing is suffers. Well, not the writing. It's the type of writing. Like, I'll explain a little bit as we go further. Some other good things. I said, the music, the acting, the world building. I saw that they were showing people involved in We Are People March. I thought that was really cool. It was something not even Westworld had touched on, I don't believe, discussing these types of groups that will pop up in the future. Discussing how humans are going to be taken over by robots and stuff like that. And, there's people like that already. And once they see robots walking on the street, once they see machines walking on the street with latex that look in like fabrics that look like skin and they look like humans, they are gonna if once robots are walking and they're not looking like washers and dryers anymore, and they're actually folding our clothes and looking like Anitas, there's definitely gonna be these types of groups that are probably gonna pop up. And this type of writing is what I wanted to see more in the entire series, because it's smart writing. Let me see what else we had for good things going along with it. I enjoyed there's certain situations that the family was put in, with the awkwardness between having a robot and the fact that why didn't the mother ever think about the father or anyone having sex with this robot, and that wouldn't be one of the first things you talk about when you get something like this. Like, they made a big ass deal about it for 2 or 3 episodes. I don't know, he was kicked out. And it was interesting to watch. That was the best thing. I thought that some of the strongest material was at the front, and then it kind of unloaded toward the end. They're like, yeah, and la yada yada yada, and it hurt the show. Normally, I don't see too many television shows that are strong at the beginning and then kind of just slack off toward the end, especially at the beginning of a new show. And it wasn't so much that they slacked off at the end. It just kind of felt more like they didn't know. They might have had a tonal shift, or like a studio tell them, we gotta shift it this way, less of this, more of that. But whatever it did, it added the family a little bit more, and I was not looking for that. So some things that weren't too hot with the Humans series, the editing. I'm pretty big on editing, just as a media creator myself. I create mostly videos for businesses and stuff like that, and watching the videos, not the videos, watching the editing on this Humans television show is just slap dad gum, just almost amateur. I almost feel like I did this type of stuff, and just from a narrative telling and plot perspective, they're like talking in the middle of things, and when there's not even like a dramatic point, they'll like stop and drop the title right there. It's like dun 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 dun. Like I didn't think that many times that it required that mic drop feeling, I guess. The dramatic feeling, I guess. Yeah, that's what it was. And it felt like they just were just trying to force it, which is not what I need in my shows. Not what anyone needs in their shows. I think we've learned maybe less is more recently. Some of these more popular television shows. Most of HBO's shows have a long beginning. I mean, they're like 1 to 2 minutes, but they're spectacles, and they want them to be kind of shown that way. This does not need to have a 1 to 2 minute opening. This needs to have maybe 10 seconds at most. It needs to be, if they want to follow the same path that Breaking Bad did, they've followed maybe 5 to 7 seconds at tops. I don't know, it might even be high. The intro was non-intrusive, and that's the most important thing. And if anything, make it more creative, because visually, we'll talk about the creative part, what I mean by that. Like Mr. Robot, I talk about that show a lot. The title will just swoop in, and it might even be part of the set. It might just say Mr. Robot in a magazine, or it might say Mr. Robot just over the screen. Just very creative ways of just planting the title screen really quickly, really fast. Just that's the way it needs to be done. There's no reason this needs to be a 30-second clip of AI technology that isn't shown pretty much the entire show. I mean, none of the creation of the technology, hardly any of it's explained. The technical aspects of AI aren't really explained at all. This is much more of the psychological effects of having an AI in your home and having it around you. The show is not based on the future and having future technology around us. It clearly is not interested in that at all, because these things are plugging in just like smartphones. People are using smartphones. Evidently we have scents that can, cook for us, do our laundry, drive our cars, but yet we don't have Bluetooth headphones. Just things like that, or virtual VR technology. It doesn't look, I know that doesn't have to be that relevant, but it doesn't look like there's hardly any technology in the show past the robots, and the only thing the robots are technically doing are being plugged out and plugged out, unplugged, and it doesn't, they're telling us a lot about the technology and not showing us a lot, and I think that might be because of budget constraints, which I also noticed with some of the stunt coordination, just really horrible stunt coordination, just with some of the driving. I think I talked about one of the wrecks earlier in the season with Mr. Hurt. I mean, they completely just pan off to the side of the road so that the camera is not even showing the car when it's making impact. So it's like you don't see anything. I mean, I could have shot that. It didn't look great. A couple times when Max was catching Leo or something like that, it just so close. It looked like he could have been 6 inches away, jumping away, not a building away or 10 feet away or something like that. There was shot horribly. Let me think. Anita. Okay, so the personalities of the synths really shifted over the course of the series. I'd say toward the beginning, everyone had somewhat of a clean slate of a personality, but then as the series went on, you even started to notice how, like, synths that weren't supposed to be conscious clearly had like emotions, and they were angry and stuff like that. Like Mr. Hertz, William Hertz, synth that was in the blue, the crazy lady. I adored watching William Hurt trying to escape from this lady and outsmart her and do all this crazy stuff, because she was a freaking lunatic robot synth. And it was hilarious, them doing this little dance of him trying to get away from her, essentially. And she was scary as hell. Like, she was literally going full on Freddy Krueger, it felt like, at some point, just popping out of nowhere, just like looking crazy as hell. And they were always shooting her from a very low angle, which made her look just scary. I mean, just scary Terry. Speaking of Freddy Krueger, there was one part where it looked like they definitely had her as a double or something like that, because I swear I saw her get beat up by Niska in the episode 4 when she was hitting people with a pipe or something like that, the Fight Club or something. I saw the synth was like, there was a lady in full in blue, and I swear it was Vera, I think it was her name. Vera is the synth's name. But yeah, Vera was doing work. I didn't really understand how sometimes they had personalities. Like, Vera clearly had a thing out for William Hurt, but then the detective's side lady, I forgot her name. What is her name? Karen, I think. Leo's surrogate, or Leo's mom thing, whatever she is. Yeah, she was pretending to be a human, and then as soon as she was found out that she was not a human, she started acting like a robot all of a sudden, which I didn't understand that. Why would you do that? Just because I know she was directed to, but it didn't make sense narratively for why she would do that, and it really threw me off. And it appears that she might actually have feelings for the detective guy. I mean, there was a couple times that I kind of thought she was feeling him or something like that, just to play him. But it looks like she might have some sort of feelings. I don't know. Toward the end of 8, it looks like they walk off together. Really, really interesting relationship. And you get to feel where the detective is coming from. With his wife and her own surrogate, they seem perfectly fine at home. She doesn't need her husband detective anymore. So it's funny how they ended up together. The detective's wife is at home with her surrogate, and the detective left and ended up with the surrogate himself. So it's really interesting how that dynamic went and it worked. I was not crazy about the dynamic between so they really blew up what the father did to Anita. But they really didn't resolve it that well, in my opinion. I mean, they kind of talked about it. They more or less talked about what would happen in a marriage kind of deal, and it really looked like she said this is it, and he still thinks that she was still a machine for most of the time, and by the time he finds out that she is like a real individual, there's like, I don't feel like there's any recognition that he said he was sorry or something like that, or if he had any idea. And I just felt like he was just kind of like would walk in the room with his hands in his pockets and just talk like this and just walk around, just and kind of like dilly dally around it. Like, dude, you just some fucked up shit, and you need to apologize at the minimum. But yeah, like Anita straight up says she like remembers everything. So. And same thing with the boy. I mean, the boy never really he apologized at the moment, but I don't think he really got the understanding, he got the gist. But he did the exact same thing his father did, just to a very smaller degree. He still violated her, and so it's just like, oh my goodness. And so it's it was interesting to see how they were gonna treat those individuals. And I thought it was kind of funny how the son just turned on his dad all of a sudden. He said, "You're the worst person ever." He's like, but just very different. I wish we would have seen more of Odie, which was William Hurt's malfunctioned bot. Definitely didn't get enough of that guy. He was a great individual to play a robot, but he didn't get enough screen time. He didn't get enough things to do. He just was there in places and underutilized. I would say that overall, other than that, we could break it down a little bit more. I wasn't too crazy about the title. Like I said, I thought they tried to act like they're a little bit smarter than they were when it came to the AI technology and just technology in general. I wasn't too fond overall about how quickly the mother turned from hating the synths to helping the synths. Because she was dead set against getting rid of Anita, I don't know, several times when she felt like they were a threat. And then when she realized they had some sort of AI technology to them, she wanted to all of a sudden mother them and help them. And it turned on a dime, and she kind of just didn't really give a shit about her family, if they were in trouble or not, because the house was being raided. There were detectives and AI corporations are busting in through, and they were not safe. And they decided to stay around Niska. I mean, knowingly, they saw Niska attack like a ass ton of people just on the news, and they decided to keep her around. And it's just, I don't know if it's sloppy writing or just just a change of plot. I'm not really sure or what they decided, but I was not fond of how that resolved. I would say the writers probably were they were closer on psych the psychology side and less on the technology side. They understood how people communicated, but people communicated with maybe technology, but they didn't understand how technology communicated with technology. There was about a handful of times where they said, "How did you find us?" And they're walking with 5 to 6, four robots and a bionicle man. Just like they've all got technology ingrained all in their systems, and to think that they wouldn't be linked to some sort of network or to some sort of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, something, GPS, one of those things are trackable. And you would think they talked about warranties on how expensive these things were and stuff like that. It's like these things will definitely be able to be tracked whenever they're created, and to pretend that you wouldn't be able to know that is just ridiculous. And I'm not sure if anyone on set has ever held an iPad or an iPhone, but pretty much all of those can be tracked. So think about that, but times like 10. So you're definitely going to want to track this thing, especially if it has legs. Imagine if your iPhone had legs. You're definitely going to want to track that thing. You're not going to want to. It sounds ridiculous not to. But going along with just the technology, they talked about how they were missing parts of the code in the last episode. Leo was saying how they didn't give them all of the code or something like that. Just essentially, they didn't have all of the information to have all the bad guy stuff. So they didn't have Karen, I believe. It was the last surrogate. It was the detective synth. Sorry, I said surrogate. Synth. They didn't have the detective synth. And if you're some sort of individual that does coding or knows anything about technology, I don't do coding myself, but I know people that have, and I've seen it done. And I've coded maybe like once or twice a couple of websites or something like that. I know it's probably completely different than coding programs and AI technology, but I know guaranteed if you miss one or two slashes or one or two A, B, zeros, ones or twos, ones or zeros, you're fucked. It's not going to show up. It's not going to work. And so saying that you don't have a part of a code should be obvious. You should know that immediately. Now, I know he doesn't really give a shit because the guy that was looking for his missing codes or something like that had a bug on the inside. I think they had bugged Charles. I think his name was Charles. And I mean, that's basically how it went. Sorry, I said Charles. It was Fred. They bugged Fred. So yeah, they just didn't really explain the technology that well, and I just was not on board with that. You gotta, if you're gonna have a show about technology, the more I think about it, you really gotta know your stuff. And when I say know your stuff, just know the basics, man. If your phone can do it, a bot is gonna be able to do it. A synth is gonna be able to do it. If your car can communicate with it, then with your phone, then your computer is gonna be able to connect with it. Your iPhone's gonna connect with it. Your watch is connected with it, your iPad. Everything is gonna connect with each other, and this show does not have anything connecting with anything. It just has people that are that really feel like robots, and I think that that's the strongest thing going for this show. If you didn't have the people that were wigging out like robots and even acted like robots, if they were all acting like William Hurt's robot, clearly that they had like a vendetta or something like that, then there would be a problem. I think that this show is is fortunate to have the lead character, Anita, or Mia, I guess is her real name, played by Gemma Chan, or Chan. She's phenomenal, and she's a great actress, playing a AI bot. I'm not sure if she can play a regular person though. She hasn't really gotten much screen time just as a normal person, so we'll have to see maybe with season 2. But comparing it with Westworld, this show really does not have a leg to stand on. Westworld really blew it out of the water when it came to just production, the level of specificity it has with it, like the technology that will go around and in the world. The technology that is implanted in the world of humans is non-existent in comparison to the technology that is placed in the world of Westworld, the show of the Westworld. You can't compare them. It's apples to oranges, almost, because they decided to build more or less the social aspects of having AI technology in humans, and Westworld dealt with more of the, I'd say, industrial and manufactural and not skilled labor. Humans is more of the social aspects of AI technology, while Westworld shows more of the different types of features and the different types of industries that you could show. The commercial side of AI technology, the entertainment side, essentially the entertainment industry for the AI technology. And it was interesting to see how both of them took many of the same concepts, how we look and interact and communicate with AI technology. So overall, I'd say Westworld really did take the cake for it. It knows what it was doing. It set out to do a goal, and it did have something to base off of. I know Humans is also based off of another television show. I don't know if it's maybe a Swedish television show, I believe it was called. I'm not sure if that was called Humans or not. However, I just felt like Westworld had a lot more to bring to the table when it came to the AI technology, and just this show did not bring hardly any. So I just thought that a lot of it had convenient plotting toward the end, and they just needed to they need to hire some better writers on this for the plotting specifically. I didn't have too much of a problem with the writing. I thought I was so uninterested with the mother. I just thought that keeping Tom a secret was just not interesting anymore. Why even do that? It seemed kind of ridiculous to do that for that long. Especially if the husband thought that you were cheating or something like that. Like, tell him. That's something you probably tell him. When at the very end they discovered about AI, the how to spread consciousness and stuff like that by everyone touching the tree or something like that. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought it was an interesting way of describing coming and becoming conscious. When Niska said, "Let's give the hard drive disk to the mother," I was like, hell to the nah. You're gonna give the code of a million, billion, maybe probably $1 trillion idea on a hard drive to a family that was just raided by the police and an AI corporation that is like probably still being heavily surveillanced and stuff like that. Like it was preposterous to even to say something like that. I literally almost rage quit the show just of how ridiculous the idea was. But I'm glad that didn't actually happen, and the mother decided not to leave the billion trillion dangerous code idea under the sweater, and it's actually Niska has it. I'm glad Niska has the codes. We don't need the family having the codes. Those are important. That important doesn't even come close to what that would be of code if that was possible. I mean, the number of companies and people and just hands that would want that, it would be ridiculous, and that family is not nearly interesting enough to gauge several more seasons of them maybe having that code or something like that. Not interested, not having it, not doing it. But I'm glad Niska, yes, like I said, Niska's got the package secure. I'd say overall it was a fun watch with interesting concepts, a couple of plots that were fun to follow, not always 1,000% engaging, but just I say the family overstays their welcome a little bit. They just needed to be written out. They shouldn't have written William Hurt out. They should have flipped the switch and kept Hurt in and take the family out. I'd say that William Hurt was one of my more favorite characters. Him and his scene with Odie, that was it was a great scene. I just wanted to see more. The lack of tech almost destroyed the first couple episodes for me, but I think Anita and some of the other plot lines kept me going. But it still is irritating the hell out of me right now. The detective storyline didn't feel fleshed out enough for the main detective, the main guy. I just was not feeling him. I understood he was having issues at home. His name is Pete Drummond. I don't know exactly. They hit right in the middle on that guy for me. I didn't hate him, but I didn't really like him either. So they hit right on the middle or something like that for me. I don't know. They kind of lost me a little bit when he just decided to take the teenagers, and they were the key to getting some stuff solved at the coffee shop in the very last episode. I was just like, the fact that the kids are on screen with the detective show what kind of writing this is going on. We need the kids to come save the day kind of thing, and I just was not having it, and I kind of lost respect more, not for the actor or anything like that, the detective. If he needs these kids to do all this, what did he actually do besides just kind of just show up, just show up at places. Yeah, sorry, I had to go off on that guy a little bit. The bad guy wasn't that great, was not terribly that interesting. He kind of went both sides all the time. I would say that the bad guy essentially just did bad things. He kind of flip-flopped from both sides. You thought he was bad, then you thought he was okay, then you thought he was bad again. Now he's good. Now I think he's bad again. So, right now, I just don't care about him. Just get him out of here. There's no reason to have him. The Leo is not doesn't seem interesting enough to follow, to take this guy down, because Leo doesn't even seem that interested. He just wants to. He's kind of casually out of it himself, and he's kind of ready to get out of it. And he said he said take me out with the robots, you know. And so I didn't really feel like I had someone to get behind. And it should have been Anita, but Anita kind of got short shrifted toward the last couple episodes. So, well, it really hits slapdag right above average. It's not an average television show because they got some really interesting. Most of it's above average, I would say, but they do. They suffer from a lot of like easy things that can be fixed. I think that I will watch season 2, but that does not guarantee a season 3. I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast. I'm sorry the last half of the season was, in my opinion, sort of anticlimactic, but I think that it does warrant enough ground. They have enough juice. They have enough juice in the squeeze. They have enough squeeze in the juice. There's enough lemons in the juice, and the juice in the squeeze. They got it all good. They got it all ready to. I think they've got enough for another season, and so I will definitely check out another season of Humans. But in the meantime, give me another Westworld. The Westworld was so good, and I honestly might need to rewatch Westworld just to remember how good of that television show was, because the cinematic quality on Westworld really hit a mark that Humans just couldn't quite hit. The first 2 episodes had promised to hit the Westworld itch, and they generally do. Let's say they generally do. But it's not the cinematic quality you're gonna get from Westworld. So that's basically the takedown of AMC's season 1's Humans. Like us, share us, subscribe, do all the goods. Check us out on TuneIn, Overcast, Apple Podcasts. I think I said YouTube, SoundCloud, all the goods, all the popular ones. Ask your Amazon Dot to play our latest Lucky Dog podcast. It will hook you up with the goods. I appreciate everyone listening. Share, subscribe. Thanks to everybody. Have a good one.
Hello. You must be Laura.
We don't need one. You're taking it back.
I'm not taking it back.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Lucky Dog Podcast. It's me, Kellie, and I'm here with the host, Elias.
Oh my goodness, she brought me in. She brought me in. So.
Season 1 of Humans is what we're talking about, right? Right now?
Right.
I know you're aggravated at me for putting on lotion. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I wanted to get your initial thoughts on Humans. Season 1, because we're flying through it. There's only 8 episodes, and what's your thoughts?
I really liked it.
Hold on, the spoilers ahead for all of season 1, and just a tad bit of season 2, right? Yeah. How about we'll just do spoilers for season 1? Yeah.
Yeah, let's just stick to that.
Okay.
I liked it. I would definitely recommend it to people to watch it because it's a pretty cool, really cool show, I think. I'm with you on like the family. Like at the end, the family was aggravating.
Too much?
Yeah.
Right.
Like too involved, I guess.
Right.
Because it didn't really seem necessary for them to be that involved.
Right.
Letting the people come and stay at their house, I thought was, like.
Did you think that was smart?
It wasn't smart, but.
Yeah.
Before the mom found out that Anita was Mia.
Mia.
Before she found out that she was really Mia, do you think the mom would have done that?
I just didn't feel like there was a big enough character transition from the mom caring about the robots. It seemed like she had 2 scenes where she really found out they might be more than just robots. And the first one was when she was interviewing that one lady and her robot who was, she said that we've made the robots more than that.
Yeah.
You know? I thought that kind of stuck with her. And then...
what lady was that?
It was one of the ladies.
They were kind of arguing.
The wife, the wife went to go interview some lady who had a robot or something like that, and this was during the same episode that the husband was having sex with Anita, or raping Anita, whatever. Yeah. So she was like, "We've made them more than that." And during the whole thing, he's like undoing the 18 up stuff, and they were making it extremely clear that harming these robots is like harming a human, and that's their viewpoint.
Oh, I thought it was leaning more towards just putting it out there that you could have sex with a robot. I wasn't.
No.
I didn't catch that. What you just now said, it didn't. That didn't.
Right. Well, it's only because you know, I've watched a couple of these type of things when typically someone's talking about something and then it's edited in with another scene. They're talking about both scenes at the same simultaneously. Yeah. So they were talking about we've made them more than that. They're talking about the implications of raping the robots. Oh. And so that's
I didn't catch that. See, I thought it was just we've made them. I thought it was like about the sex. Not in a rape, not in like
consensual.
Yeah, I thought it was meaning they made so that the robots could have sex with these people consensually. Yeah. Right.
So I think the viewpoint on the show basically says that we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so going around with the family and the father never apologizes to Anita for the things he did. He just kind of like walks in with his hands in his pockets and he just says, you know, whoops kind of thing. And she's like, I was there the whole time and you hated yourself before you even were done. Yeah. And he's just like in awe still, kind of like, I don't think he completely agrees that Anita has full consciousness or accepts it. Or I don't think
he accepts it.
There was.
Well, would you accept it after what you did if that were you?
I would at least apologize at the minimum.
Yeah.
If you had any sort of
that is weird.
Conscious about it.
They never had him apologize to her.
Right. So, I just thought it was weird, the dynamic that the father and Anita played, considering that was kind of the turning point and the breaking point for the family. You know, the family kind of dispersed over what the father did. Mm-hmm. And the son violated her too.
Oh, he grabbed her boob.
He grabbed her.
Yeah.
Inappropriately. And, you know, he did apologize.
He was pissed at his dad.
Yeah, he was so pissed at his dad. So I was like, I talk about this in my my season 1 wrap up. Yeah. But he literally flips on his dad for exactly, you know, a minor.
Pretty much the same thing that he did.
Yeah, both violating Anita.
Yeah.
So, continuing with the family, it's kind of easier to go with the family. Just the storylines.
I did see them in season 2.
Yeah, they are featured in season 2.
I was expecting stuff to be like completely different.
I for season 2 coming up, the family's in it. So I had hoped that they weren't, but we've kind of stuck our heads in it just a little bit, you know, peeked around, and the family's in it. So hopefully they've written them to a point where, you know, we agree with what they're doing and it makes logical sense. I didn't like the mother doing the 180 on let's get Anita out of the fucking house, and then all of a sudden she's like, let's keep the whole gang.
Yeah, let's let all of them come here.
Let's all come in. And so I didn't agree with that. What did you think about that?
I didn't think it was really smart for all of the robots to be at the house. I kind of thought for a little bit that, like, the mom and the daughter was going to have this plan.
Right.
To, like, turn them in.
Oh, okay. That would have been even more interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, the father sort of did that, but he kind of did it unwillingly. Like, he didn't know who they were.
Yeah. Trying to think. The part where the daughter took Anita to what's that guy's name?
Leo.
Yeah. Leo and Max, whenever she took her there, and she was like trying to explain to him that like Mia had came out or whatever,
right?
And like he didn't really want to believe her,
right?
After that is when they went to her house, right?
I believe they came back to her house eventually. Yeah, they ended up.
I didn't think it was smart for the daughter to just bring them in there. I didn't think it was really smart for Leo to trust the daughter. Like, I understand she helped bring Mia back to him, but like...
I think they have a thing. They're probably going to try to do some sort of romantic angle with Leo and the daughter. I think they may be only 5 or 6 years apart.
I thought he had like something wrong with him.
He has a brain thing where he has like memory implants. He can't forget anything because he was in the car wreck.
Yeah. No, I thought that all of that, because of the way he like walks and like carries himself, I thought he was like a little slow.
No, he's not slow. He just says, first of all, I don't know why he's walking like that, because he's always walking like sideways with a limp and his head cocked sideways.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I thought he was just slow.
No, he's not slow. Oh, and he might have the brain thing going on, but I don't think he's supposed to be slow. Gotcha. And regardless, they could still play the romantic angle, so that would be why they. Considering that Anita's only 14 years old, and that was around, and say he was probably around 10, that would put him around maybe younger.
It's going to be brought to light that like that's statutory rape.
What?
Technically, right?
What?
She's only 14. The dad's like
40 something. I think they were trying to make that a big thing too. They were trying to play that angle up as well, because I think someone had said like, you're only 14 or something like that, and then Niska is only 2 or something, or 14, or someone's 2 years old. Who was 2 years old?
Niska is 9.
9. Okay, so I just remember hearing all the ages, and I didn't really think about the ages until I heard Anita's, because Anita's was like kind of in the teenage human trafficking age where, you know, there's a lot of that age range type stuff's going on.
Yeah. And
so I figured that they were trying to play up that angle as well. But we'll just finish up a couple things. The detectives. Let's talk about the detectives. The first detective, male, him and his wife didn't.
He aggravates me.
So you didn't like him? Okay, so I talked just about that guy. I was like,
did you like him?
So they hit me right in the middle with that guy. They didn't quite make me hate him, but they didn't quite make me like him. So I like they
seemed just aggravating.
So he aggravated. He didn't aggravate me. He just was there. He didn't seem to do anything to the plot. He just kind of
like the way he acted aggravated the shit out of me. Like his problem with the robots. What is his problem with the robots exactly?
I think that they're taking over normal jobs, and I think that specifically one's taking his wife, essentially. Like, taking the place of him.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I can see where people are like, we don't need to have these things living in our homes. I think it's practical and a really good idea that they're therapists and stuff like that. And so they can be there all the time for that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
You don't have to have them looking like Calvin Klein models.
No, but, you know, they do. Did we see any, like...
ugly,
like overweight,
quote unquote unperfect.
Sure.
Imperfect.
Yeah.
I can't think of any.
I didn't see any. Even the nurse for the older guy.
Vera.
Uh-huh. Even though she's older, like she still looks. I mean, she looks like a robot. But...
Yeah. She looks like a nurse.
Yeah.
What did you think about her? I want to. We'll talk about her in a second. Okay. Let's finish the detectives first.
The detectives. Yeah, the guy detective just aggravated me. His attitude about, like, to me, he's pissed off at the robots. I get that. But he treats them like they understand that he's pissed off.
Right.
Like, he yells at the guy that's like...
Right.
He yells at him.
His helper. He
won't accept his help. He won't accept, like, when the guy was like, oh, I made you sandwiches.
Right.
And to me, that was aggravating.
Okay.
It aggravated the shit out of me.
Right.
I don't know why.
I think maybe at the beginning they explained why he was a synth police. Like, he really dislikes him because of this, but I don't remember the specific reason.
Why do they need police?
I mean, it makes sense because you saw... I really like this about the world building as well. So, like, when there's robots, there's going to be different types of police probably or different law enforcement agencies that are going to deal with those robots that have their own product line, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's... I thought that was a pretty interesting angle. The other detective, real quick, in episode 5 was when we found out.
I did not see that shit coming.
That was some crazy shit, right? That's it. That was like, if I talk about it several times. I said that looks like something out of It.
It did.
And it scared the bejesus out of me because I was ready to go to bed. I was like, all right, so I guess she's not gonna sleep with him. Nothing's gonna happen. I'm just gonna turn this one off, and it's gonna be a Fine Humans episode. And all of a sudden, she gets on her bed, and I see that back arched straight up, and she's like, it does the overhead camera angle, and that jaw comes out, and then she pulls out that.
It took me a minute to figure out what was going on.
I did too.
I thought she was gonna do like some weird shit, but still be a human. Like, I didn't see her being
a bot.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, the when all the food came out, I was like, ugh, and drink and whatever that was.
I think it was just drink.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen her eat anything, but she like drinks coffee at the office and shit like that.
Okay, so she probably drinks she was drinking wine in front of him, and she does explain it very slyly later that she only drinks because it's a social norm. Yeah. Which I thought was cool. It's kind of
because she was like, she's like, I'll tell you a secret. She's like, I don't like drinking.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
She's like, and honestly, I'll probably never drink again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she doesn't get a benefit from it, so why should she?
I thought he was, again, ignorant for caring that she was a synth when he found out that she was. He got pissed.
I would be pissed if they had been partners in crime for that long. I mean, what has she been doing since she was Leo's surrogate mother, quote unquote, his mother, and then left and then became a synth police? Like, she went into the enforcement agency that she's,
I think him and his mom
hiding in plain sight,
died in that car wreck.
Right.
So his dad turned both of them into like that.
Right. But that's not his real mom. That's his, what's it called? They just recreated a robot to make it look like.
I thought he
No.
made her like half robot.
No, that's not his real mom. Otherwise she would be much older.
You're right.
Yeah, they
What's her name?
Karen?
Start with a B.
I thought it was Beatrice.
It's not Beatrice.
I thought it was Karen because I think I was calling her Detective Karen something.
Her, yeah.
As I don't know. I don't know Leo's mom's name. But yeah, I was like, whoa, with that lady on the detective episode 5.
Yeah. When she took the balloon out of her mouth. Right.
I was so pissed. Let's keep on going along with her. Mm-hmm. When she showed up at William Hurt's house, my favorite fucking character, and shot him straight in the gut. Yeah. So starting off with William Hurt at the very beginning, I thought this guy was going to be the Anthony Hopkins of the show. Yeah. You remember in Westworld, you know that Westworld, Anthony Hopkins is the creator of the robots. Yeah. And so William Hurt, actually, his name is, first of all, he's a famous movie star. Mm-hmm. So he's not cheap, you know? Yeah. So he played Dr. George McKillen. And I thought he was going to be the Anthony Hopkins of the humans world. Yeah. Well, he sort of was, but they kind of just shuffled him to the side because he said he helped create the robots.
Him and the other guy.
Him and Leah's father.
Yeah.
And
but I thought also that one guy who's
and then the bad guy, I think,
looking for them.
And then
is he really a bad guy?
I think.
Or does he just want
so he wants to make the bad guy wants to make the robots conscious so that he can still make them do shit anyway, which doesn't make any fucking sense. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
The Dr. George McKillen. How'd you feel about him and Odie?
I liked them.
I
liked them a lot. Adored.
I just wanted to see. I could watch a whole series of it.
Did you love him?
Yeah, I did.
I'm glad. I liked him. I liked him a lot.
They were 40% of the reason I was watching.
I liked his interaction with Niska.
Yeah, I wanted William Hurt to have scenes with Anita.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to meet other people in this series.
I think the for me the vibe he gives off though is he's.
Well, he's meant there to be killed.
I know. Well, he's dead.
Narratively. So. But I just feel like
he was more prone to, or he was more drawn to Nishka, to someone like Nishka who
right wanted to spread the
needed someone to talk to,
right?
Because he broke her down real quick because she was
right
kind of a bitch.
Yeah, kind of a bitch. She was rampaging robot.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary to think about it the more you think about it.
Well, when the family saw her on the news.
Yeah.
And her daughter is sitting.
They did it on purpose.
Yeah.
And they not only that, they let her back in the house.
Did they?
They let her back in the house, I think later in, I might be talking about season 2 beginning or something like that, but
because I'm pretty sure right when that happened was when Leo's mother showed up, right? Because they were like, you have to leave.
Yeah. Oh,
and
right.
he was like, let me fix Max and then we'll leave. Mm-hmm. And I think, weren't they like, no? Or did they let him?
I think they let him.
Either way, that was right when...
No, they had to. They all went to the, I don't know, some cellar to go do all this ritual stuff. You remember that?
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly where that.
But while they were at the house,
yeah,
Leo's mom showed up.
Right.
And then fucking bomb squad popped up.
Right.
And took everybody.
Right.
But they were still in the house. So when did they go to the cellar thing?
I think they sneaked them out or something like that. I think they all just dispersed in some location. It's been a second since we watched it, but I just I thought there was just a couple problems with the show.
What?
Just narratively. I've talked about, the more in-depth stuff about the editing. I thought the smash titles, when the title would come up, it just was unnecessary. Just pop up in the middle of nowhere. It was they would be in the middle of a conversation almost, and they might say something sort of dramatic, and then it would be like, dun, 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 dun. It was way too dramatic.
Way too dramatic.
And it should have been shorter. It's full of technology on the title of the show, yet there's no technology in the show.
Yeah.
I did talk about they're like, how did you find us 10 times?
Mm-hmm.
They're all robots. People have trackers. People have I know they had GPSs in their skins or something like that they could cut out.
But other than that, they don't have a way to track them.
I feel like there's several ways you can track a phone, through Wi-Fi, through Bluetooth, through GPS. Did they take them all out? Did they do all of that? I just feel like a robot just is inherently going to be connected to some sort of network.
Yeah.
So it just seems ridiculous to say that they wouldn't be. That it would be really easy to track.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, the robots are probably going to be like our cell phones.
Yeah.
But 10 to 100 times in cost, Yeah. Or maybe not 100 times in cost, but let's...
I don't want those robots to come here.
Well, I mean, they already are here. I mean, there are Roombas, there are... I saw a Husqvarna...
I forget about the Roombas. I don't know anyone who has one.
We have one. We just
Y'all do?
Yeah, we have them. We just don't use it that much. It's it's okay. It just needs.
I've been here for a year and I didn't know you had a robot.
It's a robot, and it's come to kill you.
It probably will. Now that I know it's here.
Yeah.
Now that I found out about it, it's gonna kill me.
Well, are we missing anything else? The bad guy, real quick. I didn't understand why the hell he wants to make them conscious to make him do whatever he wants anyway.
Take over the world. What do bad guys always want to do?
Why don't you just do that with robots that aren't self-thinking? Like, they don't need to do that. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because then
my
thing is if they tell you they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it.
Well, but like Fred, you remember Fred at the very end? No. Fred was the guy who was like going like this. Yeah, he wanted to choke him, and he was like, he was.
Oh, he did something to him.
He was thinking and everything, but he was still controlling him.
He put some kind of code in.
Conscious, but he still had it. Yeah. So, why would you ever want that? That sounds like the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah. It
doesn't
make a lot of sense.
It would only make sense if he was a robot.
Oh.
Now, if they go back and double down on the bad guy being a robot, I'd believe it.
How would he be a robot?
I would like him to be a robot so that it would be a robot acting like a human, controlling other robots.
What's her face?
Dolores and, what?
No, the mom.
A
robot acting like a human.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she's not controlling anyone, but...
Right. And what do you think about that one? There's one more line I wanted to talk to you about. Anita telling the mother she can do almost just about everything technically better, but she can't love.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel as a mother? Because when I was thinking it, I was like, this is kind of hard to hear, but it's like, yeah, she doesn't forget. She does everything probably on time. Everything
that sucks. It's that would
thinking
suck
about
to hear.
Yeah. She doesn't get angry.
Yeah.
Whoa. But being angry.
That's part of being human.
Right.
Right. That's part of being human. That's part of living your life with children or a husband. Like, that's just life in general.
Right. There, Black Mirror episodes about that.
Yeah.
I gotta do my Black Mirror call outs, but they talk about that.
I think you've mentioned Black Mirror on every podcast you've done.
Well, yeah, I have to do it at least once. Take a drink. Oh my god. So the fundamental process of a robot being a better mother or parent than an actual parent from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, I can see how they would make better parents.
They'd be threatening in some sorts. But they also talked about the father getting the Anita so that he could have more time with his wife.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Meaning, like, doing housework. That way they're not doing it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because they're not sending her to do their jobs so that they can stay home.
Right. Although he's getting replaced by his job.
Mm-hmm.
I think is that season 2?
2.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. We're going to spoil season 2 anyway.
Yeah.
I can see the dad kind of turning on robots in season 2.
Right. They did within the first season, I think, because he wanted to take her back.
I think that was more so because he screwed her.
Well, I do. That's exactly why he did. But he kind of.
I was surprised that he told his wife.
I think if it was a longer series, it would have been 2 or 3 episodes.
I mean, as a father, it would have. As a parent, it would have been kind of disappointing for him to let his son take the blame for that.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah. But, like, a scene that got me was when the dad came out to talk to the son, and he was like, why did you tell your mom you did it? And the son was something about you and mom already have enough problems. Can you imagine what that would have done? Or something like that.
Right.
And then the son is like, why did you do it or something. The son's like trying to
Just,
eventually the dad just like quits responding. The kid's like, you're my dad, you're supposed to talk to me.
that was a hell of a
I
line.
could have cried. I could have cried.
That was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
There's certain lines like that I think that really shine through the show.
Yeah.
That make it worth watching. It's that line, when George was dying in Odie's arms, and Odie says,
starts talking about memories. Right?
Starts talking about his wife is in the other room, making breakfast.
Yeah.
And then he's like, George,
you're dead.
Yeah. And I was like, heartbroken.
Yeah.
I was done. Dunskies. And I really want some more Odie in my life.
So
they
Odie.
bring Odie and William Hurt back with the robotic synth brain. That's what I need in my life. Because I think that they kind of short-shrifted Odie and William Hurt. They took them off like the sixth episode.
Hold on.
I think it was 6.
Odie?
Yeah.
That was the last. I thought, was he not shot on the last episode?
If he was shot, then I'm getting him confused. But I just
No,
felt...
you're probably right.
I felt like William Hurt was not an integral part to the last 40 to 50 minutes of the show, and I wanted him to be there.
Yeah.
I wanted him
I feel like he could, if there's anyone who could kind of like stop the bad guy, it was maybe gonna be him.
Yeah, Control maybe.
Now he's dead.
Yeah. And his crazy robotic synth is probably still living.
Yeah.
And one more thing. What do you think about her as a nurse?
Vera?
Yeah, since you're up and coming as a nurse and a current caretaker.
I think she might already be conscious.
I do too. She was straight up like pissed, like most of the series.
Because to me, she was showing aggravation. She was showing some sort of emotion.
She was showing more emotion than Anita was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and did you hear that she put hands on him?
She did.
Well, she had him in the arm bar or whatever.
Taking him inside.
Taking him, inside. Like all of the robots can't touch their owners without their owner's consent or something like that. So she's not the primary owner. She is owned by the health department or something like that.
So if they tell her
that it's okay,
can,
yeah. So
technically she can if it's for his safety,
quote unquote. Yeah. So it's interesting to see how they talk about it and whatnot. The K and J podcast talked about the legalities of that, and he's having his rights infringed upon, which I agree with.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Like I said, I think if it's for his health, she can do what she wants.
I know, but that's scary, right?
That is scary. What I think is scary is she can due to another person telling her she can, and that person's not there.
Right.
Because to me, technically, she doesn't have to listen. She does have to listen to him because she does. Like
she kind of did.
Yeah. When he tells her to leave him alone or something, she leaves him alone majority of the time.
I mean, he had to fake going to sleep. That was some intrusive shit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I didn't understand why he had to hide Odie.
Because he was an out-of-date bot, and I think they have to turn in old bots.
Why can't they just keep him?
They just I don't know. I think that the detective said you have to turn them in.
Because he was part of the creation of these things.
Right. I feel like he should have some sort of say.
I feel like he should be able to say, "Hey."
Well, he said he was kicked out. He said they didn't agree. Him and his partner didn't agree. But yeah, I
still think he should be able to keep his bot.
Yeah, it was hard to watch that, but yeah.
I thought it was a good concept on why he wanted to keep the bot.
The memories of his wife and stuff like that.
Because he obviously was experiencing some dementia, correct?
Was he?
He couldn't remember. He was losing his memories of his wife.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't catch that.
That's dementia.
I didn't feel like he was losing his memory because I don't remember.
That's what he talked. He said That's what he.
Did he say that to Niska?
He said that to Nishka, yeah.
Okay, I didn't. I should have paid more attention in that scene. I just was kind of
something about because she said something about why are you not scared of me or something like that, and he was like, I'm losing the something about losing his memories of the only thing that he. The only thing that made him happy or something like that.
Okay, so that's why she kept Odie.
Yeah. He was like...
I would like a conscious Odie.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I think it'd be funny.
And you could bring back William Hurt through flashbacks.
Like a goof kid. Goofy little robot. The son irritates me.
The son?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the daughter apparently knowing more hacker skills than... Leo and half of the AI company.
Yeah. I would like to know how she knows these. Like, we didn't get any
backstory on.
Yeah. How
either one of them.
Into that kind of stuff.
Right. I just it seemed kind of convenient for plotting.
Yeah.
Just we'll make her a hacker and she can just do hacker stuff.
Yeah.
Very convenient. Yeah. So, I would just like just a little bit more backstory, just with that. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot more with season 2. We did talk a little bit about season 2, just the openers and stuff like that. Some of the key points that we're gonna be delving into for the second season. Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
I'm pretty excited as well.
Ready.
Hopefully.
Ready, Freddy.
Hopefully they keep the episode count down to 8 for the following seasons.
You hope so? I like longer.
I don't.
I do.
You see, I've found that it takes too much of a commitment for me if it's longer than 10.
Yeah.
Like I say, The Walking Dead probably could have been 10 times better if it was 10 episodes. It's 16.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a lot.
And it's divided by two.
I think 8's not enough.
Well, okay, so let me tell you how they do it. They divide that 16 by 8 and 8. Gotcha. But it's still one season of 18 of, if you're watching it, binging it.
Yeah.
I just think binging it 8 really works because you can go 2, 2, 2.
Yeah.
2. It's several 2-hour marathons or something.
That's what we did, right?
Essentially. And that's how I like my other shows. But yeah, I'm excited. Season 2, Humans.
Do you think the son's gonna have a bigger role in season 2? Because to me, he was just aggravating.
He was aggravating.
In season 1.
He was aggravating, but he was also there to serve a few points about how we should look at Anita.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on how much time they get. I wouldn't be upset. You remember the one scene you said with his father? More talks with more of that kind of writing.
What did you think about the mom's story?
Story? Just
Tommy.
Bullshit.
Really?
What did she say? She was talking. She was talking to the neighbor boy, and her brother was hit by a car.
Yeah, and then her mom
blamed her.
Yeah, her mom fucking hated her.
Should have told her husband immediately. That's all right. There's no reason to go through.
You've been married for how long?
20
you
something.
Have 3 kids.
And you don't know your brother. Your wife has a younger brother that was killed.
Yeah, and the only reason he doesn't know is because of how her mother treated her.
Yeah, it didn't make sense for me. It just seemed like they wanted to have something to stick between them. It just said that he could say who was Tommy.
Yeah.
They wanted it to make it look like she was.
I mean, they needed this Tommy story too to help.
It served both. It gave her backstory, and it gave him something to bitch about.
Yeah, but my thing is, because of her own relationship with her children, to me it was just a cop-out as to why she thinks her relationship is bad with her children.
Yeah, it didn't match. It doesn't match with me. It doesn't match with me at all. I don't see the correlation, basically. You know, there's plenty of people that have lost their siblings or something like that.
Yeah.
And raised wonderful kids.
Yeah.
So, it didn't make sense. Anyways, anything else? We finishing up?
I don't think that there's anything else I need to talk about.
We got all it out. I'm glad we got to discuss this because they've listened to me. If everyone's listened, it's been about 3 hours of me just talking. And
On humans?
And sometimes bitching.
On humans?
Yeah.
You talked for 3 hours about season 1?
30 minutes.
Oh.
And then another 40 minutes on 2 others or something like that. I don't know. Just, you know. Yeah. And then we've talked another 40 minutes. I think we've gotten a total of maybe 3 hours. And 38 minutes of it was with you. So.
That's the important part.
That's the important stuff. Yeah. We can erase everything else.
Yeah. Do that.
Yeah. All right, everyone. If you like what you heard, let us know. Share, subscribe, iTunes, or any other popular podcast applications. Hit us up. Twitter, LuckyDogPodcast. Email us at TheLuckyDogPodcast at gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Oh, at gmail.com. And if you would like to listen to our full library, it's available on YouTube at the Lucky Dog Podcast. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Kelly, for joining me today.
It was a good one.
Oh, it was a good one. It was a good one.
I this is a good show. I like it. It's very interesting.
Is it a good Westworld filler?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I might like it more than Westworld.
Oh, you like it more than Westworld?
Maybe.
Is it just
It could be because I just haven't seen Westworld in so long.
Okay. Well, I think that maybe this might be more of a social look at it, at AI technology in our world.
Yeah.
And Westworld might be more the entertainment industry of it.
Yeah.
That would happen. But yeah, it's very interesting to look at both sectors of it. And I hope everyone liked it. All right. Take it easy. Bye.
What is he?
He's the Mona Lisa. He's penicillin. He's the atom bomb.
Step on it.
You brought it into the house and we don't know anything about it.
It's a machine.
We can't keep insisting that they are just gadgets. They are more than that. We have made them more than that.
I'm watching you.
I'm watching you too, Laura. You're right in front of me.
Finally, someone to laugh at my jokes.
Anita, you can stop now.